We're actually the number one selling mustache wax in the United States. We're the number one selling mustache wax in the UK. We are the number one in Canada as well.
Wow.
And then we just launched in Germany. It was like the very end of December. We got our first inventory to Germany, and I think right now we're sitting right around somewhere around 2 or 3. But I think with a couple moves, we'll be able to take over that number one spot in Germany as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on another episode of the Robert Patton Global Podcast. I am here with Levi Harris, the owner and CEO of Death Grip Mustache Wax, and he's a local resident here, lives right next to me. We're both entrepreneurs in the e-commerce space, and so I really wanted to get connected and have a conversation and talk about how you came to be where you're at and how you started this company. So thank you so much for joining me.
Bobby, thanks for having me, brother. This is exciting to be here. Been following you guys for quite a while, and I think back in late November, early December, I was like, man, why have I not swung by the shop to introduce myself? And so, we swung by, chatted a little bit, talked to UFC and some of the sponsorship type stuff. And Javier, yeah, we got a Javier Garcia. Both of us kind of sponsor him a little bit on some level with you with the SHEATH and us with Death Grip. It's always kind of cool to meet you in person, and I just appreciate you having me on here and just chat for a bit. It's awesome.
Yeah, I find it's a really good way to just get to know someone and talk business without distractions.
Yeah.
And so typically we talk about success principles and things that kind of helped you get to where you are.
Yeah.
And I have this book here, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone, but it's really a derivative of Think and Grow Rich. Have you ever?
Yeah. So I haven't actually read Think and Grow Rich. I read the cover for it, and I just started thinking and then figured I'd grow rich.
Yeah. And the thinking, people are like, you can't just, oh my God. That's me. But like, you can't just think and, you have to do shit.
Yeah.
But you can't, but then I was thinking the other day, like, you don't want to complicate it. Just start with the thinking, because That's where it all starts.
It really does. And there's actually a passage in the Bible where it says to take every thought captive. And it really, for me, it starts with that. And so really auditing your mind and what you're putting into your mind. And then, is this thought benefiting me? And if it is, how do we expand on it? How do we continue to dwell on that? If it's not, then let's try to think about something else. And so I think, a lot of it comes from biblical teachings back thousands of years ago, where the power of your mind and the power of your thoughts and the way that affects your entire life, it's incredible.
Yeah, something about a mustard seed. Does that ring a bell? Because you can move mountains with the
faith of a mustard seed. That's right.
Faith. I got this tattoo on my arm, and it's chapter 3 in Think and Grow Rich. And we're not going to dwell on Think and Grow Rich, but I just happened to bring that book, and it's a success principles book, just like the Bible. I remember listening to the Bible when I was pre-army, pre-SHEATH by far, and just being inspired, the Psalms, and it's like uplifting. So a lot of this has to do with energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think, when we're talking about the Bible, it's the ultimate story of not only redemption, but it's the ultimate salesman too, because when you think about Jesus and the life that he lived, we're still talking about it thousands of years after his death. And I think a big part of that is because of his resurrection, right? If it wasn't for the fact that he actually rose from the dead, I don't think people would still be talking about it in that way.
Yeah. And like they say, the kingdom of heaven lives within us all, or something along those lines. And some books, they may be more a little esoteric, but we're all made in the image and likeness of God. Yes. So we have like that God-like nature within us, and we have to access it, I guess. And it starts with the mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so this is great. This is good, fascinating stuff. I am glad you got here or came in. How did you get started with Death Grip? Because I know you bought it.
Yeah. So honestly, I grew a mustache, and that's where it all started for me. It was a no shave November. Grew what little facial hair I could grow at the time. This was about 10, 11 years ago at this point. And after, the end of the month, did what probably almost every guy has done at some point in time and grabbed the razor and, started and, just left the sideburns and kind of like a goatee and then, took it another step further and had like a Fu Manchu and then, finally got to the point where I just had the mustache left and I was like, man, it's long enough I can kind of twist it just a little bit. And I looked in the mirror, I smiled, I laughed at myself and I thought, maybe my brother will laugh too. And he was working at Starbucks at the time. So I got in the car, I drove to Starbucks and I walked in with my mustache. And I think I stood up a little bit straighter when I walked in because, you just got that feeling. And he looked over the counter at me. He laughed. The other 3 or 4 employees that he was with, they all had a good laugh from it. And from there, I always say it started as a joke, and the joke just keeps getting bigger and bigger, And I didn't even know if I'd like it, but it grew on me.
Literally.
What's up, everybody? This episode is brought to you by the one and only Sheath Underwear. That's sheath.com, where you can use promo code RPG, and you're going to save 20% off your order. And, I created this back in 2008. On my second tour in Iraq, where it was hotter than the devil's balls. And I created this dual pouch system in your underwear that isolates your boys from your inner thigh region, and it keeps everything from sticking, and it keeps you cool and comfortable. So you can go to sheath.com, use promo code RPG, and you're going to save 20%. But also, we are doing a refer a frenzy. So if you sign up to our rewards program on sheath.com, you can refer a friend, and if they purchase, they're going to get $20 off their purchase, and then you're going to get $20 off your purchase. Go to sheath.com, use promo code RPG, you're going to save 20% off your order, but also refer a friend. And also, if you're on the socials, X, TikTok, Meta, YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends, share it, and but leave us a comment. Let us know how you think we're doing. We really appreciate your feedback, and we try to engage. Oh, and last thing, we have a weekly live stream giveaway on our YouTube channel where we give away $100 worth of Sheath store credit every week, and we also do much bigger giveaways, but on a weekly basis, we're doing a $100 giveaway. We've given away e-bikes, $1,000, $500, $200. We increase it from time to time. But if you join us on Saturdays at noon Eastern, we have a good time and we do a giveaway at the end. Thank you for watching the podcast, and we'll get back to the show now.
It's a fun hairstyle, like facial hairstyle.
Yeah.
It's not... A lot of people do it. Our boy Javier does it.
Absolutely.
I remember I grew a mustache in Iraq because our sergeant first class grew one, and then the whole squad, we all grew mustaches.
Yeah.
It did not quite get to that level.
There's a little bit of a rebellious nature when you grow a mustache because when you first grow it, you get a lot of negative feedback, especially from the people that have known you for a while, or, and maybe it starts off like they laugh at first, but they're like, you're not really keeping that, are you? And it's like, well, I wasn't, but now that you're saying that you're not going to keep it, I'm definitely keeping it. And so at the time, I was actually also working at Starbucks, and I was managing the store up here in Woodland Park. So I came back up to work the next day with the little mustache that I could grow at that time. And it was the same thing. My customers would come in, they'd smile at me, it'd start a conversation. So many people were like, you're not actually going to keep that. I was like, it's literally on my face right now. I've kept it. Like, until I shave it, I've kept it. And it just kept going and going and going. And I was having fun with it. My employees were having fun with it. My customers were having fun with it. It was kind of a funny time because Starbucks had just launched a new bakery line, and it was like a French bakery line called La Boulange. And so I had the mustache to go with like the baked goods that we were like sampling at the time. And it was just really cool because it really brought just an element of joy to everybody around me. And so I just kept it. And then that would have been November, right? That May, there's the Territory Days events in Old Colorado City, and I was living in Old Colorado City. So after work, we'd walk the street and enjoy the different booths that were set up for Territory Days. And lo and behold, I'm walking down and I hear, "Hey, nice mustache!" And I look over and there it is, Vintage Grooming. I'm like, what does that mean? So I walked over. I got introduced to Megan and Durwood, the founders of Vintage Grooming. I saw that, they said, "Well, what do you do with your mustache?" I was like, "I have no idea. I just didn't shave it, and I'm just laughing every time I look in the mirror." And they said, "Well, you need to start styling it." And I'm like, "Okay, what does that really mean?" And they said, "Well, have you tried mustache wax?" And I was like, I didn't really even know mustache wax was a thing. And showing me a tin of Death Grip mustache wax. So I bought a couple tins from them, and literally a couple years go by. And I was using the product. They weren't super active on social media at the time. This would have been back in like 2014, 2015. And so, probably around 2017, I'm at my Starbucks on the front register. Lo and behold, Durwood walks in. And Durwood's a guy you don't forget, right? Because back then he was running Vintage Grooming. He had a beard that went, nearly down to his, belly button. And he dressed the whole part. He still does to this day. That's just part of who he is. So Vintage Grooming really came about because of who they were as a couple. So he'd have like a Peaky Blinders flat cap on and a vest, and really took care of sharp dress. So you don't forget somebody like that.
Yeah.
He walked into my Starbucks, and so we started chatting, and they actually bought a property out in Divide, which didn't have internet. So they were utilizing the Starbucks Wi-Fi to basically set up their, Shopify and write blogs and just, basically run the business. They'd get a batch of wax melting and then come into Starbucks for 4 or 5 hours, then go back and pour the wax. So I would chat with them on my breaks and, just throughout the day. They'd, be in there 4 or 5 hours. And this went on for several years. And it wasn't till 2019, this would have been about May 2019, where Durwood, and I had done some little stuff with them. I had done some photo shoots. They had put me like on the homepage of the website, and I felt like $1 million. I was like, "Hey guys, so I'm actually a model now because of this mustache." And I just remember that feeling when Durwood did a photo shoot with me, and then next thing you know, my photo is literally the front page of Vintage Grooming, and I'm just like, this is super cool.
That is cool.
And but anyway, so he and Megan approached me, and they were ready to kind of take their life a different direction. They had been running Vintage for almost, I think, 5 years at the time. And they were just ready to kind of take their life a different direction. And so we started working out some negotiations for me to acquire the company, May of 2019. I was thinking, man, this is exciting. I had been with Starbucks for almost 10 years, 9 years at the time. And so I was ready for something different. And just the thought of being my own boss and, entrepreneurship, making my own schedule, not having to answer to somebody else when things weren't going good, or even when things are going good, not feeling like we were celebrating in the right ways, whatever. And so I was super excited about it. Negotiations fell through, and he basically said he wasn't going to sell me the company due to certain things. And I was pretty crushed at the time. I was like, man, I actually started making my own wax, thinking, well, maybe I can kind of come up with my own formula, create, do a brand or something like that. And so that happened, but my wife was also pregnant with our first kid, my daughter. She's 5 now. And so that was also on the table, right? So, just completely leaving a stable job at Starbucks to kind of go after my own project didn't make a lot of sense.
Does your wife work?
At the time, she was a teacher, so
Okay.
she was teaching.
I don't want to derail. I just
No,
'cause
yeah,
that
yeah.
does make a difference in whether or not you have the capacity to start a new venture. But
Right, and so she was
Okay.
a teacher, but I knew once we had my daughter, I really wanted her to have the ability to stay home and be a mom and have that time with our daughter. So it wasn't like I was gonna, I didn't want her to have to go back to
okay,
work
okay, okay.
after that. And so, anyway, November 20th, and or no, I'm sorry, November 19th. My wife goes into labor. We have my daughter November 20th, like right at midnight. That next morning, I'm holding her. I get a text from Durwood, and he says, "Hey, you still interested in Death Grip?" And I'm thinking, oh, the timing. It couldn't be any worse. I'm holding my brand new daughter.
that
Totally
is-
new experience, right? As a man and becoming a father for the first time. And I was like, I'm smart enough. Thankfully, I didn't say anything to my wife at the time. Like, hey, by the way, Durwood's wondering about Death Grip. I held off for a couple of weeks, but I did text him back and say, hey, let's grab a coffee in a couple of weeks. Give me a minute here to kind of soak in these moments. But we met for coffee, and things moved really quickly after that. I mean, like extremely quickly. So that would have been October 20th, and then November 15th, I want to say, we closed on a sale.
Hold on, you said, I mean, not to get caught up in dates, but you
Yeah.
said November 20th
I-
was when your daughter was born. It was October.
So my daughter's born October
Okay.
20th. Yeah. And then November, about a month later, is when we actually closed on the business. So
I get this. Okay. I get proposals to buy Sheath all the time, and
Yeah.
I never,
Yeah.
I'm just not interested because I love what I do.
Yeah.
It's fun. And even if I had a lump sum of money, I'm like, what would I do then?
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're at a later stage in their life, and I might get to that point. But it's like, these are firms, like these are like business conglomerates that
yeah,
want to buy.
I don't think it'd move that quickly with somebody like that.
But you are working at Starbucks, and you have a newborn kid. I imagine you don't have this like large sum of money to. And
No.
you don't have to get into the
No,
details too much, but
yeah, and it's very true. So Durwood actually worked out an owner finance proposal,
Yes.
which was really what allowed me to buy. We had just bought a new house up in Woodland Park. That would have been back in June of that year, and so we did not have the cash to do it. Now, I'm forever grateful for Megan and Durwood, because they saw something in me that I don't think I even saw in myself at that time, and they treated Vintage Grooming and Death Grip as almost their second child. I mean, you know what it's like to own your
Absolutely.
business, and you put your heart and soul into it.
it is like a baby.
And so when they actually made that final proposal that we were able to agree on and work, it was amazing, because not only was it an owner finance, which allowed me to
Make
even
payments
have the
over time,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And then he still gets a little bit of a royalty
Yeah.
on the products, and then like when we sell it, then there's another deal in
Factor,
there that
yeah.
will happen if that ever comes,
Yeah.
if I ever decide to sell the company.
Wow.
So-
Okay, because I was curious about that, and just what it would be like to buy another brand that already exists, take it as your own, and like it's like getting a handoff of the baton
Yeah.
and like taking it and running with it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so I mean, at the time, it's not nearly what we're doing now, right? So I mean, even though they had been around for 5 years, I mean, they were doing a lot of that grunt work of trying to get the name out. Just got on Amazon shortly before that.
that's hard enough. I
and
mean, that
that-
is a little bit of a pain.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and so I was able to see, okay, well, I think this has a lot of potential, and I think with the right little moves, we can take it to the next level. And so that's really what my idea was. Okay, kind of come in, evaluate the business, see what's working, see what's not working, really focus on what's working. It was also, as crazy as the timing was when I had my daughter, there's also like a fire inside of you when you have a kid. I don't know. I feel like as a
Absolutely.
man, something else comes out, and you just want to provide at another level, and you want to be able to look at your kids and them to also look at you and be proud of you, right? and you just want to provide a life that's as good or better than what you had growing up. I think always you as a man, you want to do what you want to provide a life for your kids better than whatever you had.
Absolutely.
And I had a great childhood. Don't get me wrong, absolutely amazing. But I knew like I wanted to do something as good or better for
at
my
least
kids,
as good,
right?
Yeah.
And so I think a little bit of a fire was lit at that same time. So the timing, as crazy as it was also perfect. And Starbucks, not a perfect company, but there were some great benefits at the time. And they had just introduced a paternity break, which, in all honesty, was unheard of in America 5-6 years ago when that was taking place. And so I actually got 6 weeks of paid leave from Starbucks when I had my daughter.
That's perfect.
And then I got another 6 weeks of unpaid leave. So I had 12 weeks that I could really kind of take over the business, figure out what to do, and then go from there. And what I did at the time was I completely shut down our Shopify and just redirected everything to Amazon.
Okay. And
the thought process behind it, we weren't doing enough to hire somebody and pay them to come in, make wax, and ship. So really at the time after I took over the company, it was me. I remember sometimes I'd get some emails or messages on Instagram about maybe an issue they had or whatever. I was like, well, let me check with that department and get back to you, and I'm like, let me go throw on my other hat and
that's funny.
and whatnot. But no, so I had time to kind of evaluate what was working, and at the time it was Amazon.
Okay.
And so I funneled everything to Amazon, and we only had one mustache wax at the time, which was our Death Grip wax. And so I was like, well, that was pulling like 95% of the company's sales. So I was like, well, that's what I'm going to focus on. And it was perfect because obviously the mustache is what I, thrive with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just put all my attention, all my energy, all my effort into that one product.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a goal. I'm going to go an entire year without launching any new products and just see what I can do with this. And I almost did that. I did launch a little pocket comb to kind of go with it because we didn't really have any combs at the time. So I launched a comb, and then I had the wax, and it was a cool little combo. And I think we had maybe 350 reviews on Amazon at the time, which I thought was, awesome.
That's great.
And, over that course of the year, we were able to grow that to close to 1,000 reviews. And, I was able to then see, okay, we're getting some reviews. Death Grip's a very unique product. The name itself kind of is a perfect name for the product, right?
Yeah.
So it's extremely stronghold. That's what I have in my mustache right now. So it's going to hold in whatever. Like you're going to be able to. I've had people on the internet who have literally been in a hurricane and said, okay, we're gonna put this wax to their chest. We're gonna go outside in this hurricane. It holds through a hurricane. But anyway, it's a little bit more difficult to apply. And so I thought, well, I need to make a wax that's a little bit easier to apply for different things. So that was where we kind of came up with these other waxes. Sudden Death was the next product I launched, which is still a stronghold wax,
cool
but
name.
Easier to apply.
Okay.
And again, we had that one kind of Death Grip logo, which again, that's kind of like our main logo at this point. But I kind of played off of that with the different logos so that, it kind of differentiates the different products a little bit, but yet it still stays true to kind of like that original Death Grip branding. And then that wax became really popular. And so then I was like, well, from there I just kept kind of launching different products that would kind of fix, a problem that a customer might be having, paying attention to the reviews or my own issues that I might be, thinking, man, I need a product that does this, and then trying to come up with a formula for it.
Yeah, you just gave me the beard oil.
Yeah.
And it smelled so good.
Yeah.
And I was like, it smelled like candy almost.
Yeah. So that one right there, that's our Night Owl beard balm. And it's a citrus scent. We use organic bergamot oil as the scent for it. So all of our products are all natural, made with all natural and organic ingredients. And yeah.
What, it has a guitar pick?
Yeah.
Is that to put it on?
Yeah, it's to scoop it out, right?
Okay.
So you can scoop it out with the guitar pick and then rub it. Now, I actually do utilize the guitar pick to put wax on sometimes. It just like it helps you apply it in a little bit
without maybe getting it so much on your hands.
Exactly.
But I did the thing with, I rubbed it on my palm and I just put it on, and I was like, it made me feel fresh.
Yeah.
kind of good, smell good. I thought it would be it could act like almost like a cologne.
Yeah.
Also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. And again, we use all natural essential oils, so it's really a refreshing, fresh scent. It's not, you're not going to smell it from across the room per se, but it's just this nice amount that you feel really nice with.
Weird question. Does it have coconut oil in it?
There is a little bit of coconut oil in it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's actually one, not all of our products do.
Okay.
But that one in particular does.
Okay.
Yes, shea butter, coconut oil, beeswax, all sorts of natural ingredients.
Well, it smells really good, and the coconut. Everyone loves coconut oil.
Yes. Yeah.
That's okay. That's like the fact that you stuck with one product was interesting, because they say you don't want to like expand before, like, just overcomplicate things, like focusing on one thing. And so I think that was pretty smart.
Yeah, and I mean, it was what I could do, right? So after my paternity break at Starbucks, I went back and I was still managing the store. So I still had all of my responsibilities as a manager,
Nice.
20 some employees, all that type of stuff. But then when I'd get home, I'd make a batch of wax. I've got some photos of my daughter, strapped on the stomach, and I'm pouring wax, after work.
Hell yeah.
And so it was one of those things where not only was it a wise decision, but it also was my only decision at the time. Like, I didn't have the capacity to
quit,
launch a bunch of products and to step away entirely. Like I said, we had just bought a house, so we were, had house payments and stuff like that we had to, take care of. Insurance, all that type of stuff was still through Starbucks at the time.
Yeah, I've actually heard really good things about Starbucks. I know a lot of people say negative things about them, and they're trying to start a union or something. You're not with them right now.
I know. I've been gone for a while now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like anything. I mean, I think that the bigger that any company gets, the more complex the problems are. My experience with Starbucks was really good. I probably, looking back now with what I know, I'm like, man, I could probably only done like 2 years of experience, not 10. But it was a great experience. I made a lot of good relationships. I learned a lot about interacting with people. I learned a lot about inventory management and running a business and, hiring, firing, all that type of stuff.
You know how to make a good coffee,
and I know how to make a good cup of coffee. I love coffee. It's if you spend any amount of time with coffee, I mean, everybody loves coffee, it seems like, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I might have to stop drinking it, but I still do drink it. It keeps me up at night. I know that's what's happening, but I love it, and so I have like a love-hate relationship.
I think everybody does.
Yeah. I was looking at your website, it's super clean. Is that Shopify?
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, we reopened our Shopify direct-to-consumer. So I love Amazon. They've really allowed us to grow incredibly, build a name for ourselves. But there's also some challenges that come with Amazon. And in one snap of their finger and something can disappear.
Dude, they just took our 4.0, it's our best-selling product, and they split the family of products across, Amazon instead of having it in, small, medium, large.
Yes.
And they're like, you can buy the large here and the medium over here.
Yeah.
So that happens to you too sometimes.
Yeah, it happens with every Amazon seller.
Okay, good.
One of the situations, you have to have specific GS1 barcodes. And when Megan and Durwood first started, they didn't have these specific ones.
Yes.
So you look at these barcodes and it takes you to a sheep farm in California or some crazy random
they
thing.
bought breezed barcodes.
Exactly. And so that's been like our biggest issue right now. And they flagged one of our products. Thankfully, it wasn't like our best selling product, but it basically just they shut off all your inventory. It's all stranded, and they say, hey, you're not abiding by an Amazon policy, this, that, and the other. They don't really allow you to fix it very easily.
Not easily.
and so at that time we were like, it would be nice to have a little bit more diversity when it comes to our revenue streams. So when it was just myself, it was great because, if something happens, I'm going to find a way to figure it out. As you start adding employees and you start having, employee families that are relying on the business, all that type of stuff, you start to think about things a little bit differently. And you're like, as much as I love what Amazon is doing in a lot of ways, I can't be solely reliant on it. And so we opened up our Shopify like 2 years ago, and started to do incredibly well, as well, with very limited advertising. I mean, almost all of ours has been organic social media. TikTok shop we've got on over the last year and a half, and started to see some growth there. Of course,
Got a couple more days, maybe.
We don't know what happened with TikTok. I'd be shocked if they actually.
I don't think it's going
it.
anywhere, but we'll see in
yeah.
about 3 days or whatever.
Yeah, I it's funny. I was watching some stuff, and it sounds like there's just been the number one app right now being downloaded is something called Red Note, which is completely in Chinese. And so like this app, if you read through, which you have to translate it because it's legitimately completely in Chinese, but it's kind of like the TikTok version for China that they use. And they're concerned about.
Do you mean like Twitter version or TikTok?
It's like TikTok.
I thought they have their own TikTok.
They do, but like I think it's like anything. There's
multiple.
I mean, TikTok is like Americanized.
Okay.
I think. And so like this one is legit, like straight China.
Okay.
Everything is in Chinese or Mandarin or however you say it.
Right.
And I guess it's the number one app that's getting downloaded on, the App Store right now. And
in America?
In America.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rebellious thing. I think that the what do they call it? The Gen Zs are doing right now to kind of say, hey, we don't really trust what you're doing with our data, so we don't really care what China's doing with our data.
Exactly.
We want TikTok.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
And so it's hilarious to me to see something like that unfolding right before they're going to ban TikTok. But
funny.
yeah, you literally, like, it's all in Chinese. You can post stuff in English, but like a lot of times it will translate it to Chinese. And like if you read through the actual terms and conditions, you have to like pledge, to abide by the Communist Party and all this different stuff that is like, yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to stay on it,
Well, I mean, how are they going to enforce these types of things? They're in China,
right?
I love China.
Yeah,
Bruce Lee's from China.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, here's a funny story. So, back when COVID hit, so like when I first took over, I think a little still naive and like I got to do everything purely American.
Yeah,
this, that, and the
and
other.
I like that. I love America
that
too.
Don't get me wrong. I love we're still making everything right here in Woodland Park, Colorado.
We're right about to make socks in America. So, but I don't want to like steer people the wrong way. But I just don't like the trash talking China all the time.
No.
We're all trying to do our best. The people I work with in China are amazing.
Yeah. And we so we were sourcing our tins from a company in the US, right? And they were claiming that everything was made here in the USA. Well, COVID hits. All of a sudden, our gold tins that we use for all of our mustache waxes are out of stock. And so I'm trying to figure out, I was like, why are they out of stock? And they're like, well, we make most of our things in the USA. These we actually source from China.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, why am I buying from you if you're sourcing them straight from China? So then I started to kind of, dabble into sourcing some stuff from China. And that's what we do now, with the tins themselves. It's like, well, I'm not going to pay somebody in America who just sourced them from China.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had nothing but great experiences for the most part. There have been some challenges.
I've had some challenges, but the company I'm with now, like I've been with them for 10 years.
Sure.
And we're like partners.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's like anything. There's going to be challenges if you're working with strictly U.S. people. Let me tell you
Absolutely.
that. Like anytime you're working with people, you're going to find some challenges.
Yeah.
But I've had nothing but great experiences with the manufacturers. Outside of, I think, so we launched this one product. It's called the Death Grip Defender, and it's a little piece of metal that you put on top of your coffee cup to keep your mustache from getting wet. So when you sip it, it kind of acts like you have a lid, but it's like a little bit more stylish. And we just launched that this last May, and literally the day after I launched it, all of a sudden there's like literally dozens of replica listings of my product, and I'm like, how did other people get this so quickly? And so that was like the biggest challenge that I had to deal with, was like basically the manufacturer must have been selling it to other people, with my logo and all of my, trademarking stuff like that on it.
Whoa.
And so that, that was where the challenge arose, I guess, because then all of a sudden there's all these fake sellers selling it for,
Cheaper?
an eighth of the price of what it actually is for sale for. And you have to basically then try to get them to take the listing down and all that type of stuff. And working with
Trademark
Amazon
stuff.
to do that can be very challenging. but we have had some success.
Yeah,
with
we
that.
have with Amazon. We've had success with because if you own the trademark, then you can
Yes.
push that trademark to have it removed. But unless you've given them express written authority, which we have done to people, but if we want them to stop selling our product, typically we just stop selling
Sending
it
them.
to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we tried with somebody recently to let him sell our product however he wanted to.
Yeah.
But then he ends up on Amazon competing with us.
Right.
Our advertising dollars are selling his product.
Right.
They're like the buy box.
Yep.
And he's getting the buy box and we're advertising it. So I was like, okay, I'm not.
Yeah, no,
selling it.
I definitely or like from my experience, I would never allow anybody else to sell our products on Amazon.
Yeah.
There's just too much that can get messy.
It got messy quick, but we sold it to him like once or twice,
And then exactly.
and then we were just like, this isn't working. You're welcome to sell it on a Shopify website. Shopify has a back end collective.
Yeah.
Has anybody reached out to you?
No, I haven't done that yet, but I know what you're talking
Well,
about.
because they have to reach out to you, and we've had two people, the Underwear Expert and some Red Baron or some other company just reached out like last week, and so we're allowing them to sell, and it's like a drop ship thing. They sell it, we ship it, and they get a cut, and everybody wins.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's
that's
pretty sweet.
That's super cool. Yeah, I'll have to look into that in a little more detail. I think we'd have a lot of people that would be interested in doing that. But yeah, so it's you kind of live and you learn. You try things, and sometimes it works out really well, and then other times it was like, probably shouldn't have done that.
Okay, so like let's just say, for instance, throwing a ballpark figure out, if we made 100,000 on Amazon gross,
Yeah.
we would only get like 50 or even less.
Yeah.
Is that something you've experienced?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, by the time all your Amazon fees, your advertising, cost of inventory, I mean, you're definitely going to be under 50%.
Okay. I was just making sure you experienced it.
Yeah.
Also.
And so, you have to have good margins
Yes.
in order to be successful.
It helps if you're making it yourself.
It does. Yeah, a little bit of sweat equity, pull some weight for sure.
That's so wild. So you're making all this? Is Eduardo helping you?
Yeah. So, I mean, for the first like 2.5 to 3 years, it was me. And then a friend of mine, Tim, who is up here in Woodland Park, he was actually working for a competitor, Can You Handle Bar. And so we were frenemies. I say we were friends, but kind of like he was like, you're my competitor, and I'm grew up playing sports, so it's like I want to dominate. We'll still have a cup of coffee, but like at the end of the day, like we're here to take you out, so to speak.
Yeah. What did you play?
Basketball.
Oh, me too. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll box you out.
Exactly. I mean,
take you to the hole.
We're talking 90s, early 2000s, like physical, anything goes basketball, right? But yeah, so Tim, he was working for this competitor who, was probably one of our top competitors at the time. And we were friends. We'd grab a cup of coffee. He used to come into Starbucks at the same time that Durwood would come into Starbucks, and Durwood would give him these looks, and then he would be like, are you okay? And then Durwood would give him some more looks, and then Tim would be like, I think I better go somewhere. But anyway, he kind of approached me. I can't remember. I guess it would have been 3 years ago, December 3 years ago. And the company, Can You Handle Bar, just completely let go all of their employees right before Christmas. And he's like, hey, so here's what happened. You got any work? And I was like, heck yeah, let's go. Like, this is what I've been hoping for. I've been trying to figure out how I can steal you from them for a couple of years now. And then finally it just, it worked out. And so Tim came over. He's been with me he's left-handed. I say he's my right-handed left-hand man. He's the Tim of most trades and the assistant to the Amazon manager. That's his official job title. But he does
that like an office reference?
Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
It is. But yeah, so he does a little bit of everything from photography to Amazon help to listings, Shopify. I mean, he's just like
when you're a small business, you gotta have wear a couple of hats.
Yeah. So he came in, and I was able to start working with him, and If I, for me launching a product, it's like, man, if I can get one product designed, Photoshop is like this huge challenge. And I'm looking at this as like Chinese trying to figure out how to change the colors and all this type of stuff. So like, if I could get one label slightly redesigned to launch a new product in a year, I'm feeling like really good about myself. And then I bring Tim on and he's like, yeah, we go grab a coffee, and like by the time we leave the coffee shop, he's already got it finished. And I was like, that's not fair. Like, that's not fair. Come on, man.
Well, that's what you want on your team.
But exactly. So he's just been extremely valuable and done such an incredible job. And then Joshua, he's got his own company, a marketing company. And so he's done some stuff for us as well on the back end with keywords and all the different ways that SEO, yeah, all the stuff that I'm also like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can formulate you a great product, and I can come up with branding ideas and all this type of stuff, but that stuff's not my strong suit. So I was able to find some people who really complimented me in the areas that I'm not good at.
Absolutely.
But yeah, for the first 3 years, I poured every single product, and at the time we were hand labeling every single wax and all that type of stuff. So my daughter, she was like 1.5. I got little videos of her peeling stickers off and trying to put them on the tins and stuff. And surprisingly, man, she was super talented as like a 1.5-year-old. I was like, you're going on payroll or something, because but yeah,
you
now
gotta put them on like nice and straight. So
exactly. But for the last 2 years, we've actually had a small team here in Woodland Park with an actual facility. We've got a couple thousand square feet, and we've got 3 people that work in there on a consistent basis, and they just are amazing. I've got incredible team that really run the manufacturing side of things now. So it's been almost a year. Actually, it's been a little over a year since I've really been making any product. Of course, sometimes situations happen, and if it does, then boom, I'm there, and I'll jump in and be making
get your
stuff.
hands dirty. Yeah.
Exactly. But I've been away from that side of it, which I actually love that side of it. Like working with the all natural ingredients and watching them all come together to a final product and making it. There's something super satisfying about working with your hands.
Absolutely.
And just kind of being in the grit of it. So sometimes I still get back in there and do a little bit here and there, but right now I've just mostly been focused on kind of branding, social media,
big picture.
Yeah, trying to kind of figure out, okay, what's the game plan, what's our direction. We're actually the number one selling mustache wax in the United States. We're the number one selling mustache wax in the UK. Canada, I don't know what's going on up there, but they don't seem to like to tell you who's the winners and who's not the winners. I don't know if it's like they just don't like to do that. So they don't have like the number one, but we are the number one in Canada as well.
Wow.
And then we just launched in Germany. It was like the very end of December. We got our first inventory to Germany, and I think right now we're sitting right around somewhere around 2 or 3. But I think with a couple moves, we'll be able to take over that number one spot in Germany as well. So super excited, super proud of that. That whole task of getting cosmetic goods into Germany was like jumping out of an airplane without a parachute and somebody throwing the parachute and trying to find it, and it was insane.
Now, are you saying that you got it into Germany through Amazon?
Through Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's through Amazon, but you still have to abide by all of the EU regulations. And the way that the EU perceives topical cosmetics is essentially as high or higher level than we would take food, right? So like you have to have product stability testing. You have to have your entire facility go through an extreme audit. So we're actually ISO certified for our manufacturing practice, for good manufacturing practices. And we didn't know any of this stuff when we decided, hey, let's get our products into Germany. We had the world we had the world beard and mustache competitions in Germany, and so I was able to go over there. And a cool story is my dad's growing his mustache back out. He had a mustache growing up, kind of like the Tom Selleck style, but then about 3-4 years ago, he grew his mustache back out. So he's actually been able to come to these trips and compete at nationally and world level, which has been super cool to kind of be able to do that with my dad. And but yeah, so we went to Germany. We were like, let's try to get our products in Germany because we're going over there for the world beard and mustache competitions. And little did we know all those different steps and requirements, and then you got to have labels that meet their standards in multiple languages, and just different the way that the label has the different symbols on it. They all play when you're trying to get over into a different country. And so, yeah, that was like 2.5 years ago that we decided we were going to do that. And we literally just got in there this last December.
Wow.
So pretty excited about that.
That is exciting. I'm going to have to talk to you about that. We sell in Germany and we sell all over the world.
Right.
But we don't have our product in specific FBA warehouses.
Yeah. And I mean, we started, we've got our top 5 products, which you see right here, our 4 mustache waxes and a mustache wax remover. And because like the testing for each product is extremely expensive. It was like over $5,000 per product just to test it. And so getting into Germany ended up being this huge investment before we could ever sell anything. And honestly, at a certain point, we're like, I don't even know if we're going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
But Tim, I mean, he's amazing. He's been chipping away at that, this entire last 2 years, and being able to celebrate that with him, this new year was pretty cool.
That's a great achievement. The more countries you sell in, you ship worldwide through Shopify?
We do, which is great, but there's challenges with that too, because we're shipping like an $18 product, and then shipping can be as much or more than that.
Probably
at times.
More, yeah, sometimes.
And so unless people are buying multiple products and really investing in a big amount, they can be a little frustrated with the amount of time, cost involved to ship it. I'm like, well, yeah, that's a long ways away. Like, I'm not gonna, if I had to bring this to you, it'd be expensive. Like,
it'd be more expensive
right.
than the $18. Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing that we even have that as an option nowadays to buy globally, right? To see a product that we want that's getting made somewhere else in the world. And, we can complain about an $18 or $20 shipping, but it's like, well, yeah, that's pretty insane when you really think about a product going from here in Woodland Park, Colorado to Italy or Germany or Australia or, even like Japan or Taiwan, something like that. It's insane that we're able to do that in this day and age. So, it's a catch-22. I think that we can all take for granted, what is in front of us and what we have access to on a daily basis. And I think that's one of those examples where it's like, you can be frustrated about an $18 shipping fee, but if you told somebody 100 years ago, yeah, you could get this from here to Italy for $18, they'd be like,
sign me up. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, because you would have to send an envoy or travel there yourself and buy a bunch of it and bring it back for all your whatever.
Yeah, but I think that some of the biggest challenges we've seen shipping internationally is just the taxes that are applied to the products. So Eduardo's from Brazil and literally order a tin of mustache wax and he's paying like $400 of US dollars just to get it imported.
Wow.
I love that face. Yeah, it's a true story. And so like, that's where the tariffs that they have or whatever on importing to Brazil are just insane. And so like sometimes we'll like open up a new country to ship to and we have no idea that like that's actually going to happen, and then we ship a product and the customer's like, yeah, this cost me $200 in taxes, and I was like, I don't know what to do at that point. I mean, I can refund you our amount,
right,
just to make you happy.
Right,
I don't really care, but like, I'm not paying your $200 import fee.
Right. That's on your country.
Exactly.
Kind of.
You might want to go vote a little differently or something,
right,
but maybe they don't have access to voting like we do.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not geopolitical in all that way. I think as just, citizens, we can be, probably all be a little fed up with government in general. And,
well, if they didn't waste the money,
it's not just a U.S. problem. It's a global problem,
yeah.
And, we're all just trying to live a happy life and whatnot. But those taxes, man, they can be crazy.
Yeah, and they just want more and more. It's like, do good with what we're already giving you.
Right.
Show me you're going to do something besides start a war or like not take care of the homeless problem or whatever other myriad of problems we have. Like these fires, the fires in Hawaii, when that shit went down a couple like last year, and they gave them $700 or
Yo, same thing's happening in California
Yeah.
right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
so. Get your shit together, and that's why. Well, whatever. I always wanted like somebody that knew how to run a business to be operating this, the government, because they know like expenses and margins, and you can't just spend all the money and ask for more money. Like at some point there has to be some accountability and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Well, or just keep printing it, right? Because then
Yeah.
that creates a
Inflation.
wide variety of problems as well.
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I mean, there's always problems, but I mean, at the same time, we're living in a time where, honestly, we have so many tools and so many ways to be successful as an
Yes.
entrepreneur now.
You got a great attitude.
That it's hard to look at it and be too doomsday. This is the end of the world. I don't know. I still feel like we're living in the greatest time ever
Yeah.
when it comes to just like, I mean, I walk into a Costco, right? And I'm looking around, I'm like, man, this harvest was bountiful. Like I can have whatever. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I understand prices and all that type of stuff. But like if it would have been me to try to grow like a pomegranate or something like that, like it's not going to happen in Colorado. Like there would have been no chance you'd be eating, these massive pomegranates or, just these steaks just laid out, and you're like, and I get it, it costs, that's a real issue and real challenge, but man, if you want it and you're willing to go out and get it, like it's there, and it's there in just
Spades.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and Costco's a crazy place, man. I love to make fun of Costco all the time because I'm like, what business charges you to shop there? Won't let you in if you don't have their membership, right?
Yeah.
And then they're just it's hilarious, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's never been easier to be an entrepreneur, and so like your competition, what it takes to get into the game has never been lower, and so it plays to your benefit in a lot of ways, but it also can be challenging because, back when we were, first on Amazon, there was a handful of mustache waxes or whatever. Now there's literally, 50 different mustache waxes for people to choose
we have at
from
least
or
100.
whatever.
Yeah, different competitors.
And that's across the board. The number of beard companies or mustache companies was literally under 10 when Durwood founded Vintage Grooming Company. It's got to be hundreds at this point of beard and mustache companies. So it's one of those things where it is a catch-22 where you have access to everything, but so does everybody else. And, I think a lot of that just goes down to discipline and branding and making sure that your product is literally as good as it can get. And, if you're doing all of those things,
customer
you're going to be,
service.
yeah, exactly. I mean, customer service goes so far,
Yeah.
Especially in a day and age of so much AI and so much automated responses. Sometimes just being slower is actually, in my opinion, the best way to do it. We do handwritten notes on all of our orders from our Shopify, and that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of energy, effort. But the amount of responses that we get from our customers just because of that is really cool to see. And the same thing with like social media. It's just another incredible tool that we have, and it's really built so many relationships. And I think for us, so we have what's called the Death Grip Brotherhood. So back when I took over the company, and I was still kind of trying to figure out social media myself. I was always hesitant. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. I never really wanted to put my face out there and do videos and all that type of stuff. But I finally got myself to do it, and the amount of opportunities that have opened up because of that are just insane. I mean, we've been connected to so many cool people, and then these people, Bob and Hunter, and I could go. The list is literally pages long of men across the country that I've become friends with. That it goes beyond just
business.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's
Yeah.
like I look forward to our competitions when we get to go and we get to hang out for 3 or 4 days and just enjoy a meal together, just hang out, compete, have a great time. And I remember the way it made me feel when Durwood put my face on the Vintage Grooming website, And so I kind of took that same concept and was like, okay, I want to do the same thing for our customers on Instagram.
I'll make you famous.
Not a lot of companies were doing. And again, there's a lot of gray areas as far as, I don't know, legalities behind it, and I don't know what you're allowed to do and what you're not, to be perfectly honest with you. But for the most part, if people love your product and they're sharing their photos with it, and they love seeing their face on your page too, and it's been a great kind of collaboration that we've had with a lot of different people.
I bet. Yeah, we've had people want to be an underwear model. I've had a lot. This one guy in particular, Michael Malice, is a famous podcaster and best-selling author and a friend of mine, but he was promoting our product, and he actually mentioned us on Rogan, which was one of the coolest things
that is cool
that ever happened. And he said he wanted to model for us, and I was like, no problem. So now whenever he promotes our product, he talks about how he is a underwear model,
right?
And
exactly.
He's just like this intellectual, but he did a really good on our photo shoot. We put him on a lot of our marketing materials still.
That's awesome.
It is cool.
Awesome.
And I remember this guy, Leo Savage, he does the steel mace, which I don't know if you even know what that is, but it's like a piece of workout equipment that you swing around, and it's like a mace. Like you could you really hurt
whack.
Yeah.
I've seen people swinging that thing around.
Yeah, and he's like the best at it. And he was on our website front page for like 5 years because the photo shoot was just so perfect. He like embodied what we were trying to portray, which is strength and badassedness. Anyways, so I imagine he felt like some kind of way about being on the front page.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you all do. Everybody that we all like a compliment, right? And it feels good when somebody says something nice about you, and it's kind of like the digital version of that. When you share somebody's photo or you like it or you leave a comment on it, it's no different. I learned this at Starbucks. When somebody was coming in, you could read their face and you could see, okay, this person's not really having a great day, but they need a cup of coffee, right? And so then you would come in and you say, okay, well, what could I say to them that would maybe make their day just a little bit better? And whether it was just complimenting them on their looks or asking them what they were doing or whatever, you would find ways to connect with people. And I think so much of business is about that connecting with people. And I think that so many companies nowadays forget that, and it becomes just about that green number at the end of the quarter or at the end of the year. And for me, that's always, I mean, though that's important, no doubt you have to be making money to run a business. At the end of the day, that's not what's most important. To a certain extent, like
these relationships
you still have to provide for your employees and make sure that you're paying your mortgage and all those different responsibilities that you have. But at the end of the day, it's about building that relationship with other people. And there's something that I've heard is that people are going to forget the way that they, the product that they used, but they're not going to forget the way you made them feel. And if you can take that with every single person that you're interacting with and apply it to your business, you're going to be successful.
That's how they're going to remember you.
Exactly.
That's how you build loyalty. Because, I mean, the product is number one. Obviously, you need to have a good product.
You got to have a great product.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if
you treat them like shit,
how did you make them feel?
They're going to be like, I can go find a different mustache wax.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, for me, that's what the Death Grip Brotherhood has become. It's been this group of men across the country and even across the world. We've got people all over the world that are styling up with the mustache wax, and we're commenting on their stuff and sharing it, and they're commenting on our stuff and sharing it. And then next thing you know, we're meeting at the world competitions in Germany or the national competitions, somewhere in the United States. And we actually have the world competitions coming to the United States this year, July 4th, which is going to be really cool. So not only is it coming to the U.S., it's July 4th, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And, that's something that's a huge focus of ours, is just being there, representing the United States, representing, mustaches and, the Death Grip Brotherhood in a way that, I wouldn't have thought possible when I first, took over the company.
Isn't it fun?
Super exciting.
Yeah, because you get to express yourself in all your different products, make these relationships, and then you get the reward of all your hard work, and still visualizing the future and like where you want to take it next, but being in the moment. There's a lot, and the challenge of business and working with your team. I was in the Army, and a lot of guys get out of the military and they're kind of lost, and maybe they'll go get a job somewhere. But were you in the military?
I was not. But I can say sports are somewhat similar too.
Yeah.
Where like when you're in sports, you have that brotherhood. You have a group of men that are going after a goal, and the military provides a similar atmosphere.
Mission,
because it's like you're there with your brothers. You're doing hard things, and chasing an ultimate goal. And so I think a lot of that for me comes from sports and
Absolutely.
and playing collegiately and in high school and all that. You learn that that we like when basketball ended for me, that was a very difficult time because as a kid you watch the NBA.
You want to be in the NBA.
It's not you want it. It's I am going to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
So there was no ifs, ands, or buts. Like that was what I was going to be doing.
Nice.
And
me too.
And so then the world slaps you in the face a little bit, and things don't work out quite like you expected.
You didn't get quite as tall as you needed to be.
There are some elements of that play into it, and I have a very I have my own personality, and my personality just responds differently to different types of coaching. And, you can see it's very interesting looking back at the different coaches that I had throughout my childhood and, early adulthood. And, for me, I thrived under a very positive environment where we built on what was good. And, obviously we learned from what we did wrong, but that wasn't the focus all the time. And then there's another side of things that's just this hard
drill sergeant.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so I knew kind of to a certain extent, I was like, I don't know that military is necessarily my route to go. At least, I mean, if it's anything like I'd seen in movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's how it is.
There's an element to that. So, I kind of knew my personality wasn't really built for that. And so, but yeah, going back to it, it's like, well, you can learn from that too, because like everybody's just human, right? And so in a business, you're going to have people who thrive under different types of leadership as well. And so certain people may thrive a little bit more when you're a little bit harder on them, when you're a little bit more goal oriented or whatever. And other people, they shut down when that happens and they just stop performing. And so really, I think a lot of that is really valuable to take from your sports or military and figure out, okay, well, how can I implement that in my business?
Yeah, working with different people. I'm learning from you. That's why I love doing these, because we can learn from each other and your experiences. And I actually thrived in like the drill sergeant mode when my first coaches in basketball were just like so hardcore. It was absurd. And a lot of people quit, which is why I made the team.
Absolutely.
Because I wasn't very good, but I did not make it even to the junior varsity team. So the fact that you made it to a collegiate level is pretty impressive.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And I was never really that good, but I just loved the game.
Yeah.
You remember that? Like I just loved the game. And when it was I still love it. I was playing a couple months ago with these 16-year-olds, and I was hooping them up real good and taking them to the hole, and just I know where the ball's gonna bounce.
Yeah.
Been
You
doing
can
it for so long.
Yeah.
Getting all the rebounds, and they were like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 47 or 46," but it was just it's so fun to play. Now I do more jiu-jitsu and boxing, but I was listening to a podcast the other day, and basketball from a cardio standpoint is actually more intense than wrestling.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane. And I mean, looking back to basketball, I mean, it really helped me build a body that I would have with me for the rest of my life as long as you maintain it. And I remember some of the hard times, in college where, I was like, man, I just don't know if this is meant for me. And that was one thing my dad told me. He was like, well, just look at it like you're building the body that you're going to have for the rest of your life.
You build
and that
a
really
work
helped
ethic
me.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
A strong work ethic that carries over to business. That's what's so great about sports.
Well, it's a never quit, right?
Yeah,
so like,
100%.
As much as I would like to say I never got spanked in a game, there are times where we just got spanked, right? And it's like, you don't have a choice. You're not going to fold over in front of all these people and quit. Like, you're going to keep playing. So I think, that same mentality in business is so valuable, because business is no different. You're going to get slapped. You're going to have things where, everything that could go wrong is going wrong. And you're going to want to quit at some point to a certain extent, but you don't have that option when you've got that mentality.
Yeah, it builds that resilience.
Yeah.
Good job. I like the similarities of our upbringing is just interesting, because I always talk about how the hard work I put into playing basketball, even though it didn't carry over ultimately into the NBA, into every job I ever had, and now this business and in the military, that work ethic just it carried forward, and it helped me thrive in every challenging job I ever had.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. I can remember some times where we had our 2-a-days in college, and I was too cheap at the time, and not on a great scholarship, but so I didn't buy the parking pass to the school. I was down
I remember that. I did
at
the same thing.
UCCS. And so I would have to park like a quarter mile to a half mile away and then walk. And I just remember these 6 a.m. workouts where I'd have to, be at the gym by 6 a.m. So by the time I left my house, got to the parking spot, had to walk, and
snow maybe sometimes.
Yes, of course. Yeah, exactly. But I remember some of those times, and I just remember, just thinking, this is terrible. But it goes back to that whole taking every thought captive and really trying to evaluate those thoughts. And I still remember some of those times where I was walking, even just, I would start to see those thoughts come into my mind. And something as simple as just trying to like bring a little bit of a smile. I'm not talking like a full cheesy smile, but just bringing just a little bit of a smile to my face as I was walking, all of a sudden changed my thought process. And so then it changed the way that I felt. And so then when I got to that horrible practice that we were doing at 6 a.m. where, my coach was throwing discs of, previous game videos or whatever at us and kicking balls in people's nuts and whatnot, I was at least still able to take that and realize, okay, well, this is terrible, but I can still change the way that my thoughts are happening during this time. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned during college basketball was like, I disliked almost everything about my experience playing college basketball. And it was the exact opposite of what my vision was growing up as a, middle school and high school kid. You watch it on ESPN and you there's work behind it, but like, again, I was under a coach that was the very, very worst possible for my particular personality. And so I can look back on it now and say, well, okay, I learned from that. I learned about my thoughts. I learned about how, different people respond differently to different coaching styles. We had a certain person on the team where it was like that was the only coaching style that would have probably been successful at, right? Where it's like if he would have been lighter on them, maybe, it would have been totally different. And so taking those different things, and you don't, in the moment, you don't think that there's anything good that can come from it, but then looking back, you're like, oh, okay, now I can kind of see what was happening at that time and what I was learning from it and how I can apply it to my life today.
There's so much from basketball, and I just like the way you talked about how your different employees have different personalities that thrive better with different kind of leadership styles. And I still, like 10 years into it, I need to like learn who thrives better with what, because I kind of do a broad blanket, and I'm super cool. I learned from the Army to lead from the front, like you were saying,
right.
When you go into sometimes if you have to, you go in and help make the product. And when a shipment comes, I come and help unload the pallets, and I'm not too good to sweep and mop and do all the shit everyone else has to do. But at some point, you need to focus on the big picture.
Exactly. And I think there's a time and a place for it. I mean, I don't think that that's your job every day as a leader or a CEO or something like that, but it goes a long ways. I mean, I remember in Starbucks feeling like, man, our leadership is so disconnected from what we have to do on a daily basis that when they're telling us, oh, this, it's like, you have no idea.
Yeah, you're on the front line.
Yeah, exactly. Why don't you just listen to what we want to tell you? And they tried to a certain extent at times, but like I said, I mean, I think that the bigger a company gets, the more the human element gets taken out of things because it's so systematic, and you lose a little bit of that connection to reality. And it's very data driven. It's very just, this is how things are done, and to a certain extent, that's probably how they got to that point too. It worked,
point,
right?
Yeah.
But then you start to see that backfire in
Yes.
companies, and I think right now you're watching that in Starbucks.
Yeah.
If you, I don't pay a ton of attention to the company, but from a business perspective, they just hired, I think, the Chipotle CEO, and the Chipotle CEO had been very successful and whatnot, and
trying to simplify the menu, I think, right now at Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of things where I think you kind of always have to kind of revert back to that human element, and it's just what happens in the cycles of business.
Yeah, I mean, and you see a lot of times when companies get bigger, the quality of the product becomes poor, and
Mm-hmm.
That could happen if you were to outsource the production of your product.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Because nobody's going to care as much as you do, and sometimes we try to pawn off other things to like outsourced entities. And for one thing, shipping, like we're sitting here in my little warehouse. This is the one in Woodland Park. We have one in Dallas, but at one point we had outsourced it, and they would just sit on orders for days and days.
You're like, I'm staring at this, why is this not moving?
Yeah, and our customers email in, and we have no control over it. Now, if there's a lot of times we'll get somebody say they put the wrong address or they ordered the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Now we can real time fix it. Yeah. And it's just, it works out so much better for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think for me, when we're thinking about, what's next, growing, I have no desire to just max the growth of the company. I really just want to create something that's making an impact on people. I want to do it, the right way, which again, there's multiple right ways, but I guess what I feel would be the right way. And it goes back to a lot of the things that we were saying, how do we provide the most premium product that we possibly can?
Mm-hmm.
How do we truly, look at our customers as more than just customers, but as friends, as, just the ultimate asset to your company, is your employees and your customers.
100%.
And I think that, just limiting the amount of debt, not taking on huge risks from a debt perspective, it really helps you sleep at night, when you don't have that. So those are some things that I really believe in. I'm not completely against debt. I think that there's a time, there's a place for it.
If it's going into production, I think that's where it's okay. If you're doing it for marketing purposes, it's a gamble.
Yeah,
exactly. But also, to each his own.
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, and again, I know that we're not going to grow as quick as we probably could if we were to take some more of these different approaches. But at the same time, I really like the way that my life is right now, so that's a huge factor in deciding how the company grows.
Yeah, you grow more organically also this way, just like a slow boil. Like, anyways.
And I've got 3 kids at this point. My daughter's 5 now. I've got a 3-year-old boy and a almost 10-month-old. And so just, right now I'm in a great position where I can do as much as I want or almost as little as I want when it comes to running of the business. I've got great people that are helping me. We've got capacity to grow at a really nice pace without,
Getting more
feeling
space.
like, yeah, exactly. And so for me, like, that's super important right now, is just creating the life that I want to be living, and not just chasing some sort of a number, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. That like, people get hung up on that growth, and the problem with that is, I mean, the reason that happens is because you keep spending more and more. So if you just kind of stay in your means, like we had the challenge with, we signed a contract with the UFC last year, and that was a big gamble. Did it pay off? It's tough to say, but we did grow a little bit last year, but it was a huge, like, payment every month. That it was a obligation, and we did it. But now we're not the official underwear of the UFC anymore. But now we learned so much from that process, and just, we weren't living within our means going for that, and we probably should not have even been there. But it was such a great opportunity. I don't regret it, and because we learned a lot from that challenge.
So you don't regret it?
No.
But would you do it again?
I think we just need to get to a higher level. I mean, a lot of the companies that are on the advertising with the UFC are billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
And we're like not even 10 million.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's, I don't know, any other company that is as small as we are that was in the octagon. So I feel like we kind of snuck our way in there.
Absolutely.
And it was the coolest thing. And we still work with UFC fighters. We work with LFA.
Yeah.
Fury also, and then we're starting to work with this armored MMA company where they're fighting in like medieval armor.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that.
And so that'll be fun, and from a marketing standpoint, we're still working with athletes, hardcore individuals that are going for their dream.
You make a lot of connections.
Yeah.
In whatever you're doing, and I think you've got the right attitude towards that, where it's like, can you really put a dollar amount on it? It's sometimes really challenging with sponsorships like that, but sometimes you don't see the end result of those for years to come, where it's like, people that watch the UFC, and got that subliminal advertising, and saw the models wearing the underwear, and all that different type of stuff, all of a sudden something will click 3 years from now, and it's like, oh, and you never know.
They see a different ad and they remember the name, and then they go, and it ultimately converts them. I'm optimistic. We didn't lose money. It was just really tight. And there's no way to really quantify the revenue. And well, we kind of did. And so that's why we chose not to do it again. But we're on really good terms with them. We can come back. We paid our bill. Like, I've talked to the VP of marketing, and it's like, we're cool, and we understand. They didn't put any weird pressure on us. They're just like, basically, come back when you want to. And if that category is taken, we talked about other potential scenarios how we could get back in the octagon.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, have you guys focused a lot on like meta advertising on Instagram and Facebook and that type of stuff?
Absolutely.
And has that been pretty good return?
I feel like the traffic is consistent. The conversions are we get a lot of traffic, but and Facebook will say you're getting X amount of conversions, but on the Shopify side, it's like significantly less. And so, who do you trust? Do you trust Facebook or do you trust Shopify? And I trust Shopify because the other data, YouTube is where it's at. I would say YouTube. In terms of influencer marketing on Instagram, I find that there's little to no value, but actually advertising, the ads through Meta does have value because it does send traffic. That's clear. That's on the Shopify and the Meta side. But we also reduced our spend from $10,000 a month to like $2,500 a month, and we didn't see any difference in revenue. So it's like, okay, we're saving $7,500 bucks on there. Same thing with Google.
Right.
So that it gets a little murky because, again, their analytics are going to tell you something different, and they're going to take credit for sales where if they just scrolled past your ad
Right.
and then somehow that person buys a week later,
Right. It's still, they're going to attribute
they
it.
get credit, even if they were a returning customer. And so, but I do see the value, and it's all like there's impressions and just getting that
Absolutely,
them
yeah.
to see your brand and
Yeah.
and you're top of mind. So you don't want to neglect it completely. But what is best? I would say YouTube is best.
YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. And is that more from a creator standpoint you've seen with YouTube, or sponsored type
Creators
on
Yeah,
YouTube?
yeah. And it's actually kind of the opposite. Those ads, the skip ad or whatever, we've never had really any success with those.
Yeah. I mean, you can skip them so quickly.
Yeah, I don't even have them. I have premium.
Sure.
So I never even see the ads.
Yeah.
But what you get from the creators is, I listen to podcasts, I watch these certain YouTubers, I build this relationship in my mind. They're like my friends, or I have some level of respect for their opinion.
Yeah.
And when they're directly telling you that this product is the best product, it holds more weight than just an ad.
Now, have you ever looked into like podcasters like Joe Rogan and
absolutely.
seen like what that looks like and invested in any of that type of stuff?
100%. That's how he started. I mean, not Joe Rogan, but people who went on his podcast. And if you look at our roster of who we sponsor, most of them have been on and continue to go on. We were just watching Protect Our Parks when you walked in. That's Mark Norman, Shane Gillis, and Ari Shafir. We either sponsor or have sponsored all of those three. Michael Malice I was talking about, Dave Smith, Bridget Fedesi, a lot of fighters, Donald Cerrone. I mean, like, I took him as like the Johnny Carson of our era. If they went on his podcast, they became a made man, and people just, he's the man, Joe. But we could not get on his podcast. MeUndies was sponsoring him
at the time, sure.
But actually, before they started sponsoring him, it was premature. I tried to reach out to him, and we just actually threw underwear on stage at one of his comedy sets back in Austin in 2012. And it was after his set, because you don't want to be an asshole, he's in the middle of his routine, but he was doing crowd work.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this was my moment. And I threw a pair of underwear, and it fucking landed right at his feet. He reached down and picked it up, and he read it. He was like, "Sheath? What is this?" And it had a picture of the pouch on the packaging, and he said, "A pouch for your balls? What the fuck are you trying to do? Why do you need a pouch for your balls? You trying to put weed in there?" He's like, "This has got to be the stupidest idea I've ever heard, or $1 billion idea."
Yeah.
And it turned out that the latter was correct,
Yeah.
because it is $1 billion idea, because there's so many other pouch underwear companies at this point. Like, it's definitely doing $1 billion. I mean, in aggregate for sure. I don't know if it's annual yet, but
right.
So he kind of, I think, maybe blackballed us from him directly, but I think at some point he saw the hustle. I mean, we're in the octagon, right behind him.
So he's like,
He
oh,
knows.
okay.
I mean, we've been mentioned on his show. All of his friends, we sponsor them. Kill Tony. I mean, like, all of them, almost. The few that we don't sponsor, it's like my own personal taste.
Sure.
I'm just like not interested in necessarily working with that person.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. No, that's cool.
And okay, so just to answer your question, we'll wrap it up here very shortly. I'd want to get to the product, but podcasts, they're in your head. You're listening to them. You got headphones on. You listen to them every week, whoever it might be, and then they're the modern day, talk radio, which I listened to growing up with my dad. Rush Limbaugh, and I don't like the various radio talk show hosts from the past, but you build a relationship with them again. So when they recommend a product, you're just that much more likely to buy it than if you hadn't heard it.
Absolutely. I mean,
I'm sure. Have you dabbled?
No. So, I mean, to be honest with you, we have done very little A majority of ours has just been organic, word of mouth.
That's amazing.
And we have a little bit of like Google ads running. Obviously you have Amazon and sponsored Amazon ads.
Yes.
But and really, I mean, mustache wax can be a challenging one. At least with your underwear, right?
Everybody wears underwear.
Anybody can wear a pair of underwear, and any man. Right?
I need to think of people who like if I remember anyone that has a mustache or whatever, like I'll bring them up to you, but continue. Sorry.
But yeah, so it can be really challenging to know, how much, does it, how many people are really going to, see somebody with a mustache and the logo on them and then that turn into a purchase. So I mean 99% of our sponsorships are just free products to people.
Smart.
We try to do that as much as possible. I love, for me personally, I love it when we put together a package and somebody's excited to get it.
Yeah.
That's, and again, I don't really ask for anything in return. If I do, it would be, in like a private Discord or something like that where, the guys are really involved and they really want to be doing it. But like, if we have somebody on Instagram that wants to try our products, and we can send them some package, regardless of whether they have a 1,000 followers or 100,000 or 1 million. I try to treat everybody almost the same, where we put together what we call as our brotherhood package, and it's a really wide variety of products and a shirt. And I think that's been one of the biggest things in our growth, because it's been all organic. And then they may share, they may not. I mean, we'll send packages out to people and we never hear from them again.
Yes.
And that's just part of it. But I would say that a really high percentage share a little something, whether it's on their story or you see them wearing the shirt, a month or two down the road, or even a year down the road. It's like they still have that shirt, and that, it hits the lineup. And I think for me, that's one of the coolest things is being connected on social media to all these people. And it's not like they have to be a UFC fighter. They can just be a dad that is on Instagram
doing his
with
thing.
300 followers.
Yeah.
And I've always thought it may not be the best strategy, but it's been what we've done. And it's what I try to continue to do as much as possible.
They're going to get that package. They're going to be excited. They're going to say, Death Grip sent me this package. They're saying your name, and now they're excited about you. And whether they have 300 or 300,000, like their immediate kind of friends and family are the people they're going to be telling, most likely, wearing it. And just that, again, that word of mouth.
Exactly. And again, like we're a very niche, product where, not everybody rocks a mustache. And so, I've always been hesitant on like, going really big with like a sponsorship on something where, you got to find the right person that's going to want to, style their mustache. And, thankfully with the internet, you can do that, and you can be really, the algorithms, they kind of feed people. So like, you're posting the videos, somebody takes an interest to a mustache styling, and then they watch the video, and then, they scroll 3 or 4 posts, and the next thing you know, they're seeing another video of a mustache styling, and then they scroll 3 or 4 more posts.
If you just slow down, you just slow down on a post with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I know just from, I got caught watching a comedy video, and I can't even remember the guy's name, but he was like a clean comedy guy, and just hilarious. He had done one where he was talking about like the United States and all of our funky measurements, and they're like
Nate Bargatze.
Probably, yeah.
That's him, 100%. And he was on SNL.
Yeah,
that was so funny. We just watched that the other day.
And I watched that one, and then again, like 3 or 4 swipes, and I'm like, there he is again with another skit, and then I swiped 4 more, and there he was again. So I think, social media has this power to hit your target audience in a way that you don't even fully understand. And
your algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I noticed that because it was like, how have I not seen this guy before? I was like,
He's
this
got
is
4
hilarious.
Netflix specials. One is on Prime, and they're really funny.
Yeah, I'm hooked now. I'm going to watch all these different.
That one
things.
SNL sketch though was so funny.
Yeah,
where he was like George Washington or
Yes.
something. Yeah,
exactly. And they're like, well, what's a ton? It's 2,000 pounds. And they're like, well, how did you guys come up with that? We have no idea. It's just all sorts of random stuff.
The kindergarten thing is the first grade. It was like, what's first grade, or what's the second grade? The first grade, and you're just like, oh man, that was so funny.
So
Google
funny. Yeah.
Nate Bargatze SNL sketch measurements. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
but I mean, even there, it's like for him, right?
Hamburger.
He's getting that
ham on a
social media
hamburger?
effect
Yeah.
right now because it's like we just saw his post and then now we're talking about it, and then
Exactly.
this clip's gonna go somewhere, and who knows if 2 people or 2 million people are gonna see that, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, I think that. So would you say manufacturing is your highest expense or payroll? And because I'm assuming it's not marketing.
Yeah, so I mean, I probably need to get more into the numbers, to be honest with you. I've never been very good at that.
Good. Well, no
But
pressure.
I can tell you that, obviously anytime you start, hiring people and employees, that's going to be one of your highest
And that's
costs.
like the fixed, yeah.
If you're selling on Amazon,
Yep,
you're basically a wholesale.
Oh, that is. The
wholesale-
marketing there. Yeah.
A wholesale client, is
Yeah.
how I kind of view that.
That is a big fee.
And so you're seeing all those.
Do you get more business off Amazon or Shopify?
Oh, Amazon.
Okay,
Yeah,
ours
big
is the
time.
other way around.
Yeah, big time. And so, part of that's because that was what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I really wanted to. I just
the
see
biggest
Amazon,
platform.
and I think of myself, and it's like, man, if I want something and I have to get in the car and I have to drive to the location and then I have to go in and then I have to try to figure out where on the shelves it is and then I have to come back and then I have to go through a line and then I have to check out, and by the time I've done that, I mean it's like a minimum of like an hour or two, and then I'm like, man, Amazon, I could just pull this up and then it's there like tomorrow or the day after, and they're delivering it at like
7
9
a.m.
o'clock at
Yeah.
night or like 7 in the morning, and I'm just like, man, I don't know how you compete with that. I literally don't. And so
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, they take their fair share, but I was like, man, what would it cost if I wanted to give that same experience to my customer, where they could get, go onto a website, have one-click checkout, and then it arrive in less than 48 hours. I'm like, it doesn't exist at this time. I mean, don't get me wrong, like there's probably going to be some, TikTok's been kind of like that biggest maybe threat to Amazon and like the selling with shop, TikTok shop and all that, but they still are nowhere near as convenient when it comes to the actual customer experience. And I think that's what Amazon has done so incredibly well. So for me, when I was trying to decide, okay, well, A, I'm not capable because I'm still working at Starbucks. B, even if I was capable of shipping out hundreds of packages a day, is that really what I want to be doing all day? I would rather be formulating new products, connecting with people on social media, all that type of stuff. So for me, it was very intentional to focus on Amazon. One, because I love the service that Amazon provides. It's not perfect. It's a monopoly at this point to a certain extent, but at the same time, it's like I may as well be a part of it.
You're a partner with Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I watched Jeff Bezos and some of his videos and just the vision that he had from the get go of for Amazon, and starting with books and then just to what it's turned into now. It's like, man, that is insane. How he was able to do that and continues to still do that. I mean, I know he's not CEO at this point, but I know he still has a lot of impact on the decisions that are going on with Amazon. And man, it's incredible. Like the stuff that they're doing, I still am like, how? I'm just like, how?
Yeah.
Every time. And so I'm like, well, if I can be a part of that, why would I not?
Yeah.
And
Some of my team wants us to get off Amazon because they take too many fees, and I've heard a lot of people complaining about that, but it's the biggest marketplace in the United States. And if you're not on it, you know, like, I guess maybe you're trying to send a statement, but you're also not getting the potential customers that you would.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's like anything, you know, you have to be living in reality.
Yeah.
Amazon is not going to be going anywhere.
Right.
I mean, unless the U.S. government decides to ban Amazon, you know, it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
It's such a huge employer in America, you know, and it provides such a great service for all of us. We all are, I mean, just press that button and you get it tomorrow.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I can tell you right now that, boy, it definitely took out a lot of the risk early on in growing the company for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was still able to go back to Starbucks, maintain my benefits, you know, still get a stable paycheck for another
How long?
year.
A year?
It was about a year. So I went back to Starbucks after my daughter was born, and then I was with the company for maybe 10 months. And then I had hit my 10-year mark. And then
Wow.
Starbucks actually offers a coffee break at 10 years, which you can take an entire year off, and you don't get paid, but you still maintain your benefits. So you get your benefits at whatever you're paying at the, you know, majorly discounted rates, all that type of stuff. And you still have a position to come back to if you want it.
Wow.
And so like that in a certain sense was like just incredible opportunity for me, because, you know, I kind of, you know, it was kind of a cheat code for starting, you know, really taking the business to the next level, because it was like, okay, I had enough savings built up where I really didn't have to worry about finances. I could take the, you know, profits from the business and just reinvest it back into the business, and really just say, okay, well, what can I do in a year? Can I grow this to a point where I don't need to come back and you know, work at Starbucks? And the reality was, yes, I was, you know, and you know, I think obviously looking back now, you know, so many things that you didn't know at the time, but it's like, you know, again, I would have bet so much bigger on myself, you know, eight years prior to that, you know, regardless of all of the, you know, securities that I had. But it's you know, I get, you know, I had a family, you know, a wife, a daughter, you know, responsibilities. I mean, I still, like, if I had one message to people, you know, there's you know, the best time to start is now.
Yes.
I mean, I guess the best time to start would have been like literally right after you graduate high school, in my opinion.
The next best time
but the
is
next
now.
next best time is now. But if you're a young person and you're thinking about it, you know, and you're in your late teens, your early 20s, I mean, that's the time to just go after those type of things. You know, live,
Take risks.
still live, you know, you can still live below your means and you know, invest it all in that, but you have nothing to lose at that point. And so that's an incredible time, I think, to do it. Now, there's not a lot of people that are that wise at that young of an age to truly go for it, and you know,
Or they don't know. I mean, you don't even know.
Yeah.
You don't know what you want to go for necessarily.
Absolutely.
So, but if you do,
if you have any inclination,
Yeah.
you know, go for it. I mean, I had no idea. There's no reason I should be sitting here talking about mustaches and, you know, on your podcast right now in your warehouse. You know, there's no reason that I would have ever known that at 18 or 20 either. So, like, to a certain extent, for me and for this particular business, it couldn't have worked out, you know, earlier.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like the universe kind of like rearranged itself, they say, to lay this opportunity out before you, but you could have not taken it, but you took it and ran with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, the doors will open, and, you know, they may be difficult to walk through, and you don't know what's on the other side of them. And so you do have to take that risk at some point, and, you know, jump into the unknown. But, you know, I feel very fortunate and very blessed because, you know, like, I go back to thinking about Megan and Durwood, the founders of the company, and just, you know, the way that they, you know, saw something in me that at the time I didn't even see in myself, is just such a huge blessing. And I'll forever be thankful for that, for Megan and Durwood, and for them, believing in me that I could be the owner of the company and take it to another level. When, if you would asked me at the time, I'd be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know anything about running a business. Yes, I was managing a Starbucks, but Starbucks has it set up so that you're doing exactly what they have, and it's like a dot to dot. I look at it kind of like an early childhood drawing. Like you have the dots, and if you just go from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, you're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
If you do that, follow the dots
protocol. Yeah.
But there was an element of being a true creator, an artist, and going up against a blank canvas, which is kind of like entrepreneurship, where you get to do whatever you want, and you get to it's a blank canvas. You get to go out there. You get to put on that paper whatever colors you want in whatever formation that you want, and you get to create that painting, and you get to make it exactly how you want it. And it may not be quite as good as that Starbucks painting, right? But it's yours, and you get to do what you want with it. And I think for me, that's what's most beautiful.
I think it's beautiful also. I am grateful that you came on here to tell me about your story and how you built this. And it sounds like it's going really well, and you have a bright future in that. And like, if you just keep moving on this path. So
yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks you so much for having me on here. It's been a pleasure.
Let me show a couple of these things. You brought me a nice care package. Is this the Brotherhood care package?
Well, this would be kind of a bearded version of it.
Yes.
So it's beard focused. Mustache is our that's what we're known for, is our mustache. But we do have beard.
Everybody has
care,
beards,
shave
though.
hair. Yeah.
So beards is not a bad move.
No, it's great. Yeah. So that's just like a nice little beard comb, hair comb. You can use that wherever you want.
I like it. It's metal. That's cool.
Got a good feel to it. So those are our beard oils. So we've got 3 different signature scents. That's the wildwood. So it's like a cedar with a little bit of citrus. Really nice kind of woodsy scent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and I just put it on my beard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Just you don't need much. It's good for your skin as well. So all of the oils that we use are designed to basically replicate the oils that your skin would naturally make. And so they're not going to cause you to break out or clog pores or anything like that.
A shampoo bar.
Yeah. So that's a goat's milk shampoo bar.
Ooh, cool.
And really, I mean, it could be a head, beard, and body bar.
Yeah.
We actually market that as a mustache wash. Again, it kind of goes right with our mustache waxes and the branding behind it.
Yeah, people, like myself, I'll find like I haven't washed my beard, you know what I mean? Like in a while.
Sure.
So make sure you're putting some soap on there.
Exactly.
Pomade.
So that's a pomade. That was designed more for your hair, but it actually works in the beard and mustache for a little bit of hold as well.
I totally need that, actually, because that's why I keep wearing this hat. So you gave me plenty of pomade.
Yeah, so that should be the other one. That's our Slayer Clay. Totally different product. That's going to provide you more of a matte finish. Maybe I grabbed 2 of the Death Grip pomade on accident.
I don't know, but it smells good too.
I don't know if the Slayer.
Well, there's a couple more.
Not,
well, I don't know. We'll have to connect. I'm gonna give you Slayer Clay.
That's the one I was thinking of right there. Yeah. That's the other one.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you some underwear also, and I want to actually meet up maybe when the weather's warmer. Let's shoot some hoops.
Absolutely.
And we can just like chat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk a little bit more about business. And thank you so much for giving me all this stuff. This is more than generous.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to use it. You got to get back. You said you had like a time frame. Are your kid's going to get out of school?
So we had an appointment. My wife actually had it. It got changed to earlier in the day, so we actually are.
Okay, good, because
totally
we definitely went
free on time.
Longer than a normal, but we were having a good conversation. I got all these stickers. I have a thing to put stickers on. I have like this sticker, like it's like full of stickers.
Heck yeah!
So
everybody likes a good sticker.
Yeah. Do you put these in each of the orders?
Yeah. So if you order from our Shopify, you do get a little bit of a enhanced experience, and I think that's kind of the goal state. You know, we realize that we're never going to meet Amazon or beat Amazon in their, you know, their speed and their delivery, their ease, all that type of stuff. But what we can beat them is that personalized touch. So yeah, when you order from our website, you get stickers with every order. Again, we do a handwritten note just on the back of a sticker. I've never been a big card guy. Growing
cards are
up,
dumb. They just get thrown away.
so we, you know, I was like, but I love stickers. My kids love stickers, and they, you know, they're always fun on water bottles or the, you know, the windows of cars or
here we go.
workshop, all that type of stuff.
I'll fill this up with some of your stickers. And dude, you hooked me up. You got a great selection of products here.
Yeah, it's crazy. We were looking at the, you know, our product selection, and this year our focus, well, I guess our words are focus, elevate, and dominate. So we're kind of slowing down. Again, we launched a lot of products over the last 3 years, and this year we're really just focusing on what we do really well. We're going to elevate those products to be even better, and then we're going to dominate. So
ours are intellectual, intentional, and timeless.
Nice.
That's funny that we came, and this is the first time we've done like we laid out our full 2025 plan, and we have a theme, and
nice.
So
yeah, you know, I've always kind of tried to do that. I think my mom and dad, you know, kind of instilled that a word for the year, you know, for us growing up.
Never done that.
A lot of times they're the same for me, whether it's, you know, my personal life or my business. A lot of the times they overlap a lot, and you know, focus has definitely been a consistent theme for me. You know, I think I love shiny objects. I love the process of creating. I love, you know, new. I love putting new things out for people to try, and I have to constantly remind myself to slow down, you know, focus on what you're doing well. I'm not saying don't do any of that, but you definitely need to, you know, slow down, focus on what you're doing well, and then, you know, elevate. I think that for me, it's like, we can always do something better with our product. There's always a little tweak, and sometimes it's very small, but it can make a huge difference over the course of an entire year or over the next 10 years. And so really kind of evaluating what we're doing well and elevating those products to be even better. And then lastly, dominate. Yeah, I think it comes from sports. Like anytime I'm doing something, I want to do it with everything I've got. And, you know, that's also a biblical principle, you know, do everything with all your heart. And so that's where that comes from. I'm also a huge Deion Sanders, Coach Prime fan, and you know, some of that is maybe piggybacked on some of the ways that he's implemented, you know, strategy to the University of Colorado. So, you know, you can't take credit for, you know, almost everything you do. You've seen a little bit here and there. You know, as they say, nothing new under the sun. You know, you're just taking it and then putting your own personal fingerprint on it, which I think is cool.
I think you're cool. I love, you know, you have a great voice, and you explained, you know, told the story very concisely with a lot of details, and it was just a great story. And I look forward to like getting to know you better and hanging out.
Bobby, I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks,
Thank you.
dude.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Levi.